Well, we have to think about what's involved in making a consequence type of deal. You don't lay consequences on kids unless there's kind of an expectation set ahead of time, and they have to process the expectation. They have to understand, if I do this, then that's going to happen. So first they have to know the expectation. They have to have paid attention to it. They have to remember it. They have to understand if this happens, then that's going to happen. They have to understand that certain things are only going to take place after something else has taken place. They have to process, not until this takes place will that take place. So there's a lot of processing of language that these kids don't necessarily do. Okay? They have to now hold this first, then that, which is a sequence in their mind. They have to hold if this, then that, which is a contingency. And they have to delay, if you're using a reinforcement program, they have to delay gratification. All right? So all of those require being able to wait and understand how long it's going to be before something takes place. Those are a lot of very higher order executive function kind of processes. So the problem with the typically engaged behavioral programs is they make a lot of assumptions about attention, time processing, sequencing, which typically are very affected in these kids. So then we have the problem of what we do when we use a kind of a typical behavioral approach that doesn't work very well with these guys. So typically what we do is we say to them something that indicates to them, I'm not really on your side. And how do we communicate that? We say to them, don't do that or else. We remind them, remember what the rule is. And when we remind them of that, then we're in a power position coming down and offering an anticipation to them that I'm going to let you know that you're getting close to the line. Or we say to kids, you need to do it for this long to get the reward. And they do it for 15 minutes, not 20, and they don't get the reward. Now they inhibited and they follow the rule for 15 minutes and they get nothing for it. Whereas these kids work on a really tight, close time frame, a stimulus response almost kind of thing. So when I do put in energy and I don't get something for it, your reward program, violates my capacity to make a connection, which is very close in time. So typically we need to cut it down much, much shorter between the expectation, the action, and then the reward if we want a reward program to work. Okay, so while the reward program might not work because we're making them wait too long, the consequence program doesn't work because I did what you asked me to do. I just didn't do it long enough. Well, yeah, I did, as far as they're concerned, because they got the time concept problem, or they thought it was long enough. Sometimes the expectation is just too high for them to have success. So when we're setting up kids for success, we have to bring down the feedback for success to a much closer in time to the action that we do it. And you know the old rule about catch them being good. Well, we need to catch them the instant that they're being good, not 5 minutes after they were good, right in the act kind of thing, because they do learn. They do have cause and effect in the moment. They don't have cause and effect 5 minutes later. That's where the connections aren't being made. Well, it's interesting because a lot of people have said that you can't use behavior management approaches successfully with kids with FASD. And you can't use traditional methods that use consequences and negative approaches, but you can use positive structure, a task orientation to what you're doing. Let me explain a little bit. We know that these kids don't generalize well from one situation to the other. We know that what they learn is specific actions in specific situations. So the take-home message is don't expect them to generalize, teach them specific. Teach them specific in this situation for the situation. So what we want them to do is to be successfully dependent on responding to the exact prompt at the exact moment when they need to do what it is that they need to do, and reinforce the heck out of that the split second it occurs. And in those circumstances, they learn habits. They learn stimulus response. This is what I do here. When they're coached, this is what I do here, and reinforce for it right then. So that's the basic strategy. If they don't understand contingency, which is the if-then, and the conditional, not until, and their brains don't process those time concepts and those abstract concepts, then we have to take the responsibility for processing that information away from them. If we're expecting them to process it and they don't process it, they won't respond to a behavioral management program. So we structure the behavioral program so that they're not required to figure out what to do, and they're not required to keep it in their own mind. So how do we do that? We make it all concrete. We make it immediate. We make it in the moment. We show them what they have to do to win right now. Now, there's a number of strategies for doing that, and there's a number of concrete ways that we do that. One of the things that I like a lot is we take something like this, where you have like a United Way cylinder, and you put kind of markers on it, and you can either put pennies in there or quarters or tokens or something like that. So every time they do something correct, they get a marker stuck in there, and it sits there, and they can see, and you can never lose this. Whatever you did right now, look at that, look how cool you're doing. Even if they don't get it for the next 3 or 4 times, it sustains motivation to keep working towards something that's visually and right. Another couple of ways of doing that, depends on the age of the kids. You can take these little bingo daubers and you can give them a stamp on the back of their hand if they're not tactile defensive. And you can pick the bear stamp or the sail stamp or the kitty cat stamp or the whatever. Or you can put those on a sheet of paper. So you can do this very covertly, just as they walk by. You can come by and put those little immediate pieces of feedback right visually in front of them constantly while they're working without distracting them, and just put a smile on their face. You know, you can see the little smile on their face when they do it. Okay? What we have to do with these kids is, there's an image that I have. You know, when we play Monopoly, you know, it's a really boring game, but we play it for hours. Even though we're losing, we keep playing it because we go around and around that board, and somebody else has got the hotel and the house, and we got almost no money left, but we keep playing. Why? If we go around Go, we get $200, and we get $200 just for being in the game. So we have to think about life with these kids where everything is conditional and contingent, and you have to do this and you have to do that. Where do they get positive feedback just for being in the game? And the more we can set up for them joy and happiness and, hey, I'm okay, just for being in the game of life, it's tough for these kids. They have to struggle through a lot of cognitive processes that make them frustrated and confused. And so when we have to wait for them to get something instead of just seeing that I'm getting it right now and I'm going to have something to work with if I just keep going a little bit, sometimes just breathing is good enough. And, you know, walking around and tapping them on the back and saying that's a good job is one thing, but just giving them positive feedback that, you know, you've been sitting in your chair for like 5 minutes. That's incredible. Hey, pretty good, you know. Not because it was a program, just because you said, hey, I'm going to give specific, immediate feedback to this kid, and it's going to say, I like you, I win with you, you're on my side, you want me to do well here. And that's what the non-contingent, no program kind of positive feedback does. The things with the stickers and the lists and the cylinders, that all works really well for these kids for task work, but we need to give it to them for just being there.